Welcome, chefs, to this episode of The Kitchen. In this episode, we're actually switching gears a little bit, and we're going to be talking about an educational topic as opposed to the Written by You series. And we're going to be talking about how you can bulletproof your brand to survive the slow season. And we're actually just going to talk about if 2024 as a whole is a slow season for us all, or if there are different things that are kind of controlling the inquiry and booking process for each one of us. And Throughout this episode, you can expect to learn our 3 tips on how you can make sure that you are covered in the slow season. And we're going to talk about how we've actually implemented each one of these strategies as well. As always, we'll have links below in the show notes. You can always reach out to us. But without further ado, let's cook.
Living in a daydream. Ooh, such a sweet thing. Life on the big screen. It's such a beautiful scene, yeah.
Good morning, Jacob. I guess good afternoon, Jacob.
Yes, afternoon, Nathan. How are you?
Afternoon. What is it? It's like, wow, it's almost 4 p.m. I'm doing
Almost
great.
4.
How are you doing?
Doing pretty good, yeah. Kind
Doing
of
good
a
on
groggy
this-
day, but yeah, I'm doing all right.
Well, you were up until
Yeah.
4 in the morning.
Yeah, just like one of those nights, like, I don't know, so unnecessary, but then you just kind of like start thinking about your week, and you're like, well, I just want to get a head start
Yeah.
on my week. And
Yeah.
it was like 11 o'clock. I got home, and I started like just like doing stuff. And but then, before you know it, it's 4 a.m. And you're like, oh, frick.
Yeah.
Well, I stopped working at 3 a.m., but like, you know what, when you get in that creative grind,
Yeah.
you can't turn your mind off and just go to bed. It takes like an hour to just like cool off. So
Yeah. Whenever
yeah.
I turn it off that late, it just takes me forever to just like kind of mosey into bed, just brush my teeth, get ready. It takes a while. So,
I know. I had to like force myself to not open TikTok or anything. I was like, just get in bed and lay there until you fall asleep. Yeah. So, yeah, it was good.
well, off to a hot start with the week. You just uploaded that why we switched to Sony video to the YouTube
Yep.
channel.
Yep.
So
Which
if
we talked about on the podcast, but it's been 2 months since we've been using Sony. So I just
Yeah.
want to kind of give my thoughts on what we're learning. And I love how that topic just like every single time triggers people.
Yeah.
Because like my opinion, and we've talked about this before, like in an ideal world, you have different camera brands for different strengths, right?
Right.
So like
Right.
you might have a Red in your arsenal, or a C200, or an FX3, or even like a Panasonic. They all have just like different strengths. But I think if you want to play that game, it gets very expensive, because you either are buying a ton of adapters, or you're dealing with bad autofocus from not using the right lenses for your camera or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I don't look at the Sony as like a Sony. I look at it as like the tool that kind of matched our workflow the best.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think a lot of Sony people get really like, oh, you're on our team. It's like, no, it's what we like right now,
Yeah, we could easily switch in another year or two or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is just a tool. Something that Landon does really well is he has kind of everything. He has the Sony. He kind of uses that
Landon
for
does,
a couple months or a year, and then it's like, oh, I use the C70 for other projects, and that's ultimately what we're trying to build up, is just having everything. We can have the Canon C70 if we want, just that crazy, just dynamic range, beautiful Canon image. But we currently are shooting a lot of like low light stuff and run and gun stuff, so the Sony has been great for us. Watch Panasonic come out with some crazy camera that we're just who knows, maybe we want to switch to the Nikon Red series. So it's just
I was just gonna say, I feel like Nikon is the next splash. I feel like they're starting to refocus on video, so I'm excited to kind of see what they do to keep up with the competition. I'm really curious.
It's almost a pointless debate. People eat it up though. They love just thinking that
it is
there's
clickbait.
this team. It is.
Yeah, it's such clickbait. But yeah, I just don't see it as a war. I see it as like, well, what do you like?
Right.
Because we all have different preferences on like certain settings and certain looks. And I think, well, what do you like? Like the same reason you choose a 50 millimeter, or for you, the same reason you choose an 85 over like a zoom lens. It's like, well, I like, you like to paint and cook and film, create art on the 85. Like, you can do it on other lenses, but like that's what you like the best. And so I just think like Sony for me, like right now, it's just what we kind of identify with the most. So
yeah. And you talked about it in your video too, the sharpness, like the sharpness for me, I love it. Cause we punch in a lot. And if we're being honest here, a lot of what we post and a lot of the things that we put out there that get judged and critiqued, it's just based off of social media, what you see on Instagram.
Yeah.
And we were just so tired of punching in just even a little bit and having this, the softness of the C70 just become a little bit more soft. And it's just like, ugh. Yeah. So the sharpness has been a game changer. We can definitely punch in, and even on socials, it looks fantastic. So loving the switch. That was if you haven't seen the YouTube video and you're listening or watching this, head on over. If you are watching this, then just, click on Runaway Vows instead of Runaway Vows podcast, and it'll be the recent video. But today, Jacob, we got something, I guess, kind of fun. It's going to be a bit of a teaching moment, but also hopefully we can, put in our own little nuggets of wisdom in there from our many, many years of being in the game. But over the weekend, I was, perusing the internet, and I was on Facebook, and there was this thread in another group. It was in the wedding videographers group, and it was someone saying she was a very well established, she's a very talented filmmaker, and she's just saying, hey, I've been doing this for 5, 6, 7 years. I've always been doing really well. I've been able to support myself and my family, but this year it's just not working. I haven't gotten any inquiries, and I'm really considering just hanging it up. And we see these posts every once in a while, right? Every single year, someone is asking, hey, my inquiries are down. How can I get those numbers up? And you'll have all sorts of people giving, their advice on what works for them. But this post it caught my eye because, number one, it got over 100 comments. It kind of fueled this huge, it wasn't a debate. Most people were in the same page, but everyone seemed to agree that the consensus was that 2024 is just a slow year. So I wanted to get your thoughts to kick this off. Yeah. Do you think that 2024 is a slow year for wedding videographers in terms of bookings?
Yeah, I mean, I do. I think it's pretty relative, though. Like, honestly, I mean, some of our friends who we know book recurring, dozens of weddings a year are saying it's been a different year. There's a lot of theories about that, the economy, no one meeting during COVID, dating during COVID. But we were talking to a friend recently, and there's this podcast by Sam Jacobson called Own Your Business.
Yep.
It's specifically dedicated to, business owners and things. And they did an episode last year about wedding vendors specifically. And kind of these same complaints that this post that you're referencing had, like, I just feel like the economy's down, bookings aren't where they need to be. I feel like most of us are having half the amount of bookings we had last year. But it's important to remember that last year we had a surplus of weddings. Everybody did. We did like 35 or 40 weddings last year, and we never do that. And anyway, the summary of this podcast that we were discussing with our friend was, it's so easy to blame the economy and different things like that, but it could just be your lack of marketing efforts. It could be our own systems and techniques that led us to that very busy year prior. We took our foot off the gas because things were going well. And because things were going well, we stopped trying as hard to get bookings. We're like, oh my gosh, we're so busy. This is awesome. And we slowed down. And so after, the industry, our industry specifically, after that 8 to 18 month run kind of fizzles out of bookings, and we kind of realize, oh my gosh, we're having a slow year. It's usually because a year and a half ago we were so busy we thought we had made it, and we kind of took our foot off the gas a little bit, which I think is a very interesting perspective to have, to kind of take accountability for your bookings, instead of playing the victim here.
Yeah, I think something that wedding videographers, and I guess most creatives in any field, don't do very well, I'd say maybe 1% of them do, is keep track of all their analytics over years, right? This year it does feel like it is slower, but what are we comparing it against? As you were saying, like last year seemed to be a good year. Most people were pretty happy. You're always going to have people saying it's a slow year, maybe in January, February, March. But by the end of the year, most people last year were saying, yeah, like we were able to film all the weddings that we wanted to. So what are we comparing it against? Because if we're going to use that theory that you kind of hinted towards, that, people didn't meet each other in COVID, so they didn't have 2 or 3 years to date, which means they're not getting married in 2024. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense why, 2021 and 2022, and even people who started their business in COVID times during 2020 had great years.
Right.
I can see why someone would have a good year in 2020 because they have, existing, work, and they have people coming in, and, people booked them in 2019. But we know a lot of people who started their business in 2020 and they're still around. Like, how did those people survive that slow season and get to where they are now? So
but wouldn't you say it's like an adapt or die principle? Like,
I do.
Like, it's a whole different market nowadays. But it's like, yeah, you could either like say, oh my gosh, my Instagram promotional ads aren't working. The industry is dying. There's no weddings.
Right.
Like, or maybe you just didn't put forth the right networking strategies, or adapt, or take calls, or go to workshops, whatever it was, to learn how to come at it at a different angle, right? To adapt to the industry and adapt how the industry is evolving. Because the industry is evolving so quickly, I feel like.
It's insane.
And statistically, could be like, well, like statistically, yes, weddings, there are less weddings happening in the United States in 2024. That's according to the, like, that's just what is happening. But it's like, okay, well, then now explain to me, you have to also explain, how are people in our networks busier than ever this year? And some aren't. It's like, okay, well, if weddings truly were way down and it was affecting the entire industry, then everybody should be affected, right?
Right.
But there are people who are thriving this year. And that's why it's those people are adapting, survival of the fittest, figuring out, okay, what networks I got to put myself in, what brands I need to put myself in, or not brands, what communities and what other things, what marketing strategies can I adapt or change or stop doing to become one of those people who's having a killer 2024 and not play victim to it.
Yeah. Do you remember when we went to Lake Como, we met Cody Pettingill? Do you remember him?
Yeah.
From Fargo? I believe he's from Fargo. And I saw he actually commented in this thread. He and his wife are,
I love to hear what he says.
I believe they're a husband and wife team, and they're from a very, very small town, but they've pretty much capitalized on the whole area and kind of like surrounding area, it sounds like. And I hope I'm not putting out misinformation here, but I want to say his packaging was like $5,000, $4,500. It could be more, could be less.
On average, yeah, I think so.
On average. Yeah. That sounds about right? So $4,500 to $5,000. They're in Fargo. If you're listening to this, I imagine you probably have a bigger city population than Fargo.
Fargo's North Dakota, right?
I believe, yeah, it's one of the Dakotas. I think it's North Dakota.
And they're doing out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. Which, yeah,
I've
how
never
did we even
met
find him in
anybody
the first
except
place?
for Cody, who's from North Dakota.
Like a town where everyone knows each other, apparently. Yeah, North Dakota. Speaking of which, have you seen that movie? Have you seen Fargo? It's an old movie.
I've seen Argo. I was like, yes, I have. No, I haven't.
No, there's a great movie called Fargo. Maybe add it to your list when you're done doing the IMDb thing.
I will.
But anyway, they are from Fargo, and they are doing over $200,000 a year. And he posted this in the comments. He said, "Hey, like, by the way, we're from this place and we're doing over $200K. We have been for the past couple of years. We're doing it. We're on track to do it this year. Bookings are pretty much consistent. Hit me up. Let's have a call." So he didn't really give out like any secrets, but it just goes to show like it is possible. And maybe it is the marketing. Maybe it's just because the industry is changing. But and I hate it. There is a certain amount of luck too. Like in any success or failure of a business, there is luck as a factor. So maybe this person who posted this,
right? But don't you think, Cody, like the luck? It's also putting yourself in the environments where when luck strikes, you're the one who answers,
Correct.
Because like he's doing, I just did average package, $5,000, 200,000 divided by 5,000. He's doing 40 weddings a year. His company is
putting in work.
Right. Which is very doable. And I don't want to say that to say it's like easy to do that, but I know people who do more than that. Right. And I think 40, when you have a team like he has, he's built a team to allow him to do 40 a year. That's just incredible. And so the whole world's hurting. And you think, well, if there's anywhere it's going to be affected, it's going to be less dense areas of the country, like North Dakota, Fargo. But what an amazing success story. It's like, no, this year is just right on track with last year, and next year is looking the same.
Right.
No. And then you have to ask the question, okay, well, how is he, we should have him on, how is he not been affected at all by what I would say most of our industry is calling a slow year.
Actually, we're going to bring on Cody to this podcast. Actually,
so cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to just hear what he has to say
fly out
about
to Fargo, eat whatever food is native to North Dakota, and interview him.
Hey, I'd go to North Dakota. It's beautiful out there.
Is that where Mount Rushmore is? Is that South Dakota?
That's South Dakota, the Black Hills.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it just goes to show that it is possible. Maybe this person that posted this just having really bad luck. There is the sometimes you just got to persevere through it. Like if you're able to pay your bills and you're okay, you might, is a lot of people say in the freelancer, like it's either sometimes you're in the feast or famine. Like sometimes you're doing really well, sometimes you're not. This might just be a famine era for this person and for many people, but for others it's feast. So, and I don't think we can really pin it down to any one thing that is causing it. Maybe it is people not meeting during COVID. Maybe it's this rise of like content creator packages and social media quick turnarounds. I don't think it's easy to just pin it on one specific thing, but what you and I have tried to really focus on since starting Runway Vows is kind of bulletproofing our brand against slow seasons and trying to avoid kind of like those disruptions of cash flow. So we're going to jump into 3 steps that we can take as a business, whether you have multiple people on your team or whether it's just you or your husband and wife duo. 3 steps that you can do right now to bulletproof your business against the slow season. And we actually sent this out on a newsletter just the other day. So if you're not subscribed to the newsletter, we'll also leave that in our notes below. But the first step, I actually should have talked to you before I trademarked this name, but it was a nod to This Is Us. And the first step was working with the big 3, which are planners, venues, and photographers. But of course, in This Is Us,
and see the lens flare right now.
Randall, Kate, and Kevin from This Is Us.
3.
You know, the
okay,
big
sorry,
3.
Say that again. I was
working
nostalgic remembering.
Working with the big 3. They are the planners, right? Wedding planners. We got venues and we have photographers.
Yep.
And each one of those things we can look at in the past 2 years for us, because people might stop and say, oh, you guys are Runaway Vows. You guys, brought all these people over from Full-Time Filmmaker. You have kind of a step up in terms of starting from zero. You didn't really start from zero, but we kind of did, because the last couple of years at FTF, you weren't even allowed to take weddings because you were just all in. And I mean, I was in college and really only the weddings I was going to be shooting were just LDS weddings or weddings I was shooting with you. So we cut ties with the wedding world for about 2-3 years. And then we jumped in and started Runway Vows. And this first step of working with planners was the biggest thing for us, and venues and photographers.
Yeah. Well, let's remind people that we've said this before, but our very first wedding, before we had an Instagram page up and running, before we had a website active, we booked a destination wedding in Cancun, which we have a job shadow of, because a photographer told one of her brides, oh, you have to use Runway Vows, they're the best. And we had no portfolio, and they paid us to say it's all-inclusive resort with them based on the word of our photographer, Courtney J. Photo, alone. Nothing else, right? We didn't send them a video, no portfolio. She just sent, hey, I want to book you guys. How can I do it? And I was like, oh, I guess we'll use my old Jake Weiser Films Honeybook portal, because we had nothing set up.
No, yeah, we literally had to go in and create our Instagram account right then.
Yeah, and we had a little coming soon, and so like that to me was like the very first like click of like, wow, right? And we knew this, right? Like we're not stupid. We knew the power of a referral,
right?
But like having a brand new business, brand new name, nothing but a name, and having a photographer sent us our first destination wedding as a company based on her just telling her bride, oh yeah, they're the best.
Right.
That like was like a wake up call to both of us saying, okay, our networking strategy, that's priority number 1, are the big 3.
Yeah. Yeah, that was absolutely insane. And yeah, we booked that wedding, and then from there we used that wedding to get more weddings, because people see, oh, these guys travel, they go to Cancun, beautiful. And then after that, we just started using that to leverage it to get more weddings, and like voila, we had an Instagram. So
well, it's crazy. Cool. Now that you kind of iron out the big 3, I'm thinking about our first 3 months. We had Courtney in our pocket, the goat, she sent us the Cancun wedding.
Right.
That was kind of a wake-up call to us. So the next month, we went to a networking event in Utah. You walked up to a planner and offered value. We shot for her. Immediately sent us a wedding that got featured in People's Magazine. Like immediately. And then in those same 3 months, we went up to a venue that had just opened. Said, hey, we want to add value to you. Film some videos for them. And last year, I think they sent us like 5 weddings. And they continue to send us weddings.
Yeah.
So like right in the first
week.
few months, right, without any portfolio piece, or any portfolio, excuse me, just by nurturing relationships with the big 3 photographers, venues, and planners, we booked multiple weddings from that. Some of which have led to recurring weddings, some of which led to features, some of which led to incredible content for you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And because of that, I think if you look at our Instagram, I think we have like 40 posts, maybe a little bit more. But I think because of that, we realized, okay, our target focus isn't slaving away as social media gurus every single day. It's nurturing relationships with the big 3.
And the coolest thing about that is that none of those, I guess we could kind of say Courtney goes back, but the planners and the venues,
right?
It didn't matter our following size. We had no follow. Right. They didn't know
followers.
These venues didn't know either one of us. The planner didn't know either one of us. They had no idea what our background was.
First introductions,
how many weddings we had filmed, whose wedding, where we'd filmed. It was literally just us providing value and offering it where it was available, and it snowballed. So those were. I put those as number 1 because those are the easiest to pin down immediate success. And immediate is relative. It's the wedding industry. Sometimes, you know, you're going to provide value and it's not going to pay off until maybe next year with a booking or later that year. But that's the first step, working with the big 3, planners, venues, and photographers. Number 2, the second step. Oh, wait, you're about to say something. I heard the gasp.
No, I was going to say I agree. Yeah. That's
great. The second step to bulletproof your business against the slow season is client outreach daily. And maybe it's not daily. That might be a little excessive, and you kind of get to a point where you've just kind of run all your lists dry. But I actually saw this the other day. There's this podcast. It's a great podcast. It's called the 505 podcast. Just a couple of dudes talking with a bunch of creative people, freelancers, video, you name it. And this one guest on the show just sat down. He said, like, what are you doing? Like, if you don't have consistent revenue, what business is just sitting around and waiting for it to happen? Every business is trying to outreach and find investors. They're trying to find clients. They're trying to find stores to buy their products. Treat yourself as if you are one of these businesses, because you are. How many times during the week are you sitting down and you give yourself 30 minutes to an hour to find people and reach out to those people? Planners, couples, friends for content, whatever it is. So that is one of the things we're not very good at as creatives, as wedding videographers, is treating it as a business and sending out emails. It sucks, but we got to do it. And I'll let you kind of, if you want to, I'll let you tell people about what we've been doing recently with our wedding planners, because we recently kind of did something like this and saw some pretty good results, I'd say, from it.
Yeah, it started honestly 2 years ago when we made Runaway Vows, and I was like, hey, I want to learn what I don't know quickly.
Right.
Because I was very hyper aware. Remember that graph I tweeted that one time?
Yeah,
it was like,
that was a great graph.
Confidence and your skills are always at a peak, and then you get humbled, and then you start to grow and learn more. Yeah. And I just wanted to get humbled as quickly as possible. And I said, I want to learn what I don't know right away. I want people to just tell me, here's what you don't know, and just kind of have that wake-up call. It's very overwhelming, but I wanted that. And so I paid for a coaching call with Lindsay Conklin from Le Rev. And I remember one of the first things they said to me back in 2022 was like, videographers only network with other videographers. Like, we're so quick to jump into other Facebook groups of videographers and teach and network and get to know each other. But it's like, but rarely, and I don't want to say never, because it's been happening to us recently with videographers, but rarely will those videographers actually help you get further in your business. Versus when you compare it to the value you can add to the big 3, right?
Right.
And so that kind of inspired you and I to be a lot more hypersensitive on our relationships with those big 3. And when I say hypersensitive, I feel like we kind of picked a few the last few years and started, adding value where we could. But then going back to the 505 thing, like this year we said, okay, like It worked in 2023. We filmed a lot of weddings, but we really want to focus in 2024 on filming the best weddings, right? The weddings that we feel like propel Runway Vows forward. And so we said, okay, let's sit down and let's create a list of all the planners we can find that we think identify with our style, right? Whether that's our brand values, their design, their mood boards, kind of their look, right? Kind of what, making sure that we could actually fit in with their team. That's crucial. And so you went through on Instagram, I don't know how long you spent, but you made this huge list of like 50 something planners, people that, big following or not, we thought, we could fit in with their team because we have similar values, similar styles, whatever. And so then we went and emailed all 50 plus of these people. And it wasn't just like an email like, hey, want to work with you. We sent unique emails to all 50 plus of these people and said, hey, and we went through their About You page, learned about them, went through their Instagram, find our favorite weddings that they've done. And we sent them very personalized emails saying why we loved their vision and what their brand stood for. And we emailed all of them. It took about a week. But like you said, just kind of dedicating an hour each day to doing this. Research, emailing, value, offering value, not just pitching our business, but actually saying here's what we want to do for you and how we'd love to serve your clients. And we just kind of sat and waited. And what came of it? What came of it was we got a few follows on Instagram, which to us was a huge win. That's one of the wins, right? Knowing, okay, now we're on their radar, right? They went from our email to their phone and they hit follow. To me, that's call to action that they did, right? To me, that's a huge win. That's the first step. Now we're on the radar. They can see our content, and now it's on us to make sure our content we post is worthy of their business. Okay, so that was win number one. We got some follows from some pretty impressive people that we were really excited about. Win number two, we got some emails back saying that they absolutely appreciated our email to them in that they put us on their list for future weddings. Some of them had their books closed for this year, but they said that they put us on their list of weddings for next year. That is a huge win because I feel like even more so than the Instagram, getting to that point is hard, right? And usually it requires a lot more than an email to do that. So I consider that, back to your point, a little bit of luck that they put us on the referral list before a relationship has really blossomed. And then win number three was we had a few planners who we loved reach out and ask to jump on calls and send us clients. One is a wedding this year. We have a few calls for weddings next year, and we've already sent pitch decks out to their clients, hoping they book. It's too early in the process to know now, but we'll update you guys once we find out. But that was win number three, and best case scenario, right? Luck plus being in the right place at the right time. In fact, I'll tell why. One of those reasons that worked is we had a planner who, in our personalized email to them, we sent them, we feel like they did a lot of weddings of this certain caliber, so we sent them one of our films that kind of matched their style. It was our wedding we shot in Colorado last year with one of our favorite planners as well. We sent to them, and this planner had a wedding happening this year that just happened to be in that same state. She's not from there, but planning a wedding in that same state, that same vibe, and she could see how we would fit into her vision perfectly. So talk about being lucky and being at the exact right place at the exact right time. So I'm not sure if that's kind of what you're looking for, but I feel like we're starting to, I don't know how long it took for you to research those planners. It took us a long time to kind of find out more about them, add them to our database, and personalized emails. It was like probably a few week process, all in all. And now we have to nurture those and wait to see the fruits come because it's not always immediate. So I don't know if that was what we were looking for, but so far really, really pleased with the wins we've been seeing from that process.
Yeah, and that's, we always say that following count doesn't matter, and for the most part, that's true. It's more of the quality of the people that follow you. So as you were saying, when these wedding planners, when we saw that they received an email from us, pulled open their app, went to Instagram, searched up Runway Vows, hit the follow button, that means they're pretty invested in us. And that's a quality follow. They are They're looking for a video team. They're in need. And in terms of putting together this list, like, it's really nothing crazy. It's just you need to set a time for yourself just to sit with your phone. Don't get distracted. You find a planner that fits your brand, fits your guideline, fits your budget. Follow them, click on who they are following, and follow those people. And it's seriously just like a tree with branches. You find one, and then from that one person, you find multiple. And then from each one of those multiple, you find who they're following. It's just kind of this big web of planners. And so you'll spend a lot of time looking for these planners, but at the end of it, we were able to put together a list of a little over 50 planners, but they were very, very good planners. Any single one of these we would have loved to work with. And
absolutely.
Sending out this email, we knew that it was basically just cold outreach, which doesn't have a very good success rate, but we knew if we could just get 2 or 3 of these out of the 50, which is pretty doable, because wedding planners, they're not a huge corporation. They don't have just flooded emails that go to spam. Like, there's a good chance that they were going to see our email in the first place and hopefully respond to it. So if we could just get 2 to 3, we would have been happy. And we did. And as you were saying, we're still waiting on to see if they 100% paid off. But I mean, we had some just say, hey, absolutely. Like, I have a couple this October I want to set you up with. And that's pretty crazy. That's wild.
It's also it's an experiment that paid off. Like, the results are already exceeded our expectations. And I think it was so important to us too, because I've seen I don't know if I should say, the people who post like on their private close friend stories, like, please don't be the videographer who does this. And it's like a screenshot of a planner who screenshotted a videographer's email to them and said, I want to work with you. Here's my website. Here's my pricing. Let me know if there's any weddings. And it's just like so one-sided, like, hey, I need money from you type of a thing.
Yeah.
And it was so important to us. We don't want to come across as like the spammy videographers who just want to get into their market. And so we made sure that the content of our emails was very personalized and very driven by wanting to add value to their businesses and to help bring their visions to life and be a team that they trust, more so than it was like, hey, check us out. What do you think? Add us to your list, because that was our intent. And I think I do believe, regardless of being behind an email or a text or a DM, people can feel intent. And if you're doing it very selfishly, if you're walking around a networking group with business cards, just like throw them at people, it's just not the way. It's not the move.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
When you're drafting these emails, write an email to that one planner. Make it personal. Like, I think a lot of the things that people trip up on is, shoot, I have this list of 50 planners. How do I write an email that's going to apply to every single one of them? And so they get in kind of robot mode and they write, hello, I am whatever films. I would like to be on your event. Yeah, they chat GPT it. And you can, in this day and age, you can tell when something's been chat GPT'd 100%. And so you sit behind a computer thinking, how do I write one email that I can just send to every single one of these? And it's impossible to do it from that. That frame of thinking. You have to just think as if you're writing to one person, make it very personal, and then you can make some small tweaks and then consider sending it out to others. Because the email we were sending to the multiple planners were pretty much the same thing, but it was all based off of the one single email sent to the one planner, very personalized with their brand, their values, and tailored to them. But
build out your skeleton, but flesh it out with personalized value that shows you're not just copying and pasting things. Yep.
And just fail fast. That's just a business rule. It's just fail and fail fast. We knew that the majority of these emails we would never hear anything back from, but and we could have been faster. We were kind of sitting on it until we were really prompted by someone else who we heard was having a success story with this. And we're like, shoot, we need to start doing this too. And then we're like, all right, we're gonna do this. And then we had some success. Like, just be as fast as you can about it. Start acting. Don't be afraid for it to fail, because you will fail, and that's good if you just have 1 or 2 or 3 planners reach out to you. So those are our first 2 steps. And as a recap, work with the big 3: planners, venues, photographers. Number 2, client outreach daily. Then number 3 is something we've talked about on here before and multiple other places, but it's having commercial clients. And we're going to say it again, like there is no shame in having commercial clients. Maybe we don't even have to talk about this point. We don't have to beat it into the ground because it's just, we're past that mindset. In 2018, 2019, sure, if you weren't just a full-time videographer filming product videos and only product videos, then you were a failure. If you weren't a videographer, a wedding videographer who was only filming wedding videos, then you were a failure. But it's the market has shifted, the industry is different. I would say I respect someone more if they can prove to me that they're a talented wedding filmmaker who's built a great business around that. But on the side, kind of like during slow season or during winter, they're also killing it. Like Adam Grumbo, we're always tipping the cap to him. He was kind of the first one that introduced us to like, hey, during winter I'm shooting for my church. And we're like, oh, I guess maybe we should start filming some client stuff. Yeah. And we've taken that approach recently, and we've tried to do more commercial things, and we're now in that process of building out kind of that separate branch of Runaway Vows that is dealing with commercial clients to bulletproof our business against the slow season.
Mm-hmm. And I think I remember we talked about this a little bit on, or maybe it was just your newsletter. We got a lot of emails back saying, "Okay, like cool, but how do I find those commercial clients?"
Right.
It's no different. It's almost the exact same principle as putting yourself in the right rooms with the right people, whether that's networking events or finding value in small businesses. But I remember one of my very first year ever as a videographer in 2017, when I was like, you know what, I want to make money with my camera. I was broke, so I took my little camera and I went out and I just walked around my hometown of Provo, Utah, and I started walking indoors with my camera and asking to film videos. One of those companies was Chip Cookies. And for those who don't know who Chip Cookies is, Chip Cookies started in Provo, and Crumble Cookies, the megalodon of the cookie world right now, copied Chip Cookies. Chip
sad
came
story. First. It's a really sad story.
Yeah, won't get into it now.
Well, not sad.
Chip was the first gourmet cookie. There was a lawsuit between them and Crumble. Crumble had to rebrand a little bit. Anyway, won't get into that. Chip was the first. I walked in there, talked to the CEO, who was slinging cookie dough at the time, and just offered to make a few promotional videos for them. Had a great relationship. They wanted to do some more. And around that same time, I met Parker and started to work for him. And because of that, I started saying no to Chip and started working for Parker. Mm-hmm. Now, I know for a fact if I would have just kept saying yes to Chip, I could have become their chief content creator, right? The way a lot of our friends who we know are now Crumbles and Chip's chief content creators. In fact, I actually know both of Chip and Crumble's chief content creators.
Who's Chip's? Do you know?
I don't know if I can say.
Okay.
I'll tell you later. But
okay.
The point is, like, you just don't know what could lead to just offering small value to somebody, right? Doing real estate, walking into businesses, asking for social media content, saying, "Hey, I want to take over your social media platform, interview your employees and create some reels," whatever. It's just crucial to put yourself in those situations and find yourself in those rooms where you can offer the value to those people to bulletproof against the slow months.
Yeah. You gotta be in the right room. That's recently we've told a lot of people, but we were in Florida filming this business conference, a 3-day business conference, and these people that are on the stage, they're managing hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars in these funds. They're just deep in the game. And a recurrent theme from all of them, these businessmen and women, were just, you got to be in the right room. You got to find yourself. You got to find a way to get in with the right people. And I think that's kind of hard for a lot of creatives, is like, oh, who are those people? And right. I mean, those people are going to be, chief marketing officers. They're going to be business owners, marketing directors, even communication managers. Like, it's just kind of hard, that whole world of like LinkedIn and figuring out like what do specific roles that businesses actually do? Who are the right people to actually talk to? Mm-hmm. Because it doesn't sound crazy appealing to be like knocking doors, and there definitely is, a better way to be spending your time. So look for those sorts of people.
Yeah. And I think the easiest, I would submit from my experience only, the easiest way to get yourself out there is to first establish yourself as a valuable item. For example, just off the top of my head, okay? Let's say you're bored, but you love filming, you love golfing, okay? Let's just say it's one of your hobbies. Take your camera to the course and film a promotional video of the golf ball you're hitting. Prove to yourself, so you can prove to the world, that you can actually sell a golf ball, okay? Or a golf club, a golf glove, whatever, a golf hat. And then start sending that video to all the local golf stores or sports stores or golf companies or country clubs who have golf courses who you would like to make promotional content for. All of a sudden, you have this piece of you golfing or your friends golfing. They can see what you can do, and they say, wow, that sells the lifestyle of golf. I am going to do that. Or what I'm going to probably be doing this summer, having a baby in June. I'm starting to get a lot of baby accessories, and I'm starting to Google a lot of baby things, and I'm noticing there's really no good channel out there that reviews baby things that don't make me want to, I'll keep it clean here, punch someone. And so I'm like, you know what? And I was telling Parker, I'm like, I'm going to make a review channel for dads. I'm going to review baby products, strollers, car seats, different diapers. I'm going to review them because I know I can make content, and I know the bar is so low. I'm going to make a dad review channel, and I'm prophesying here, and maybe I'm being overly confident, but watch companies reach out to me and ask to review their products and to send me money or free stuff in exchange for my services, right? Just watch it happen. It's happened. It happened with my whole desk. You know, you start putting out content that you want people to be attracted to, and people start to notice you if you put that content in the right place, which Parker says all the time, content is king, but distribution is queen. People creating content matters. It doesn't matter at all if people can't see that content. You have to get them to see it.
Yeah. And that's maybe, I mean, one of the biggest nuggets of this podcast is like, if you don't know how to get commercial clients, one of the best ways you can do it is just film yourself, film what you like to do, and people are going to start reaching out to you. You know Austin Brady, right? A mutual friend of ours. He doesn't have a big following, and he started a YouTube channel, and you were talking about like, you know, diapers and mom and dad accessories. And he started recently doing this again, very small YouTube channel, very small following. And he just like took a stroller to the psych wall and made a little YouTube channel about it. And he has people sending him stuff, and it's just crazy how it can take off. I know for a fact that you have received products just by filming it and posting on your Instagram.
Probably tens of thousands of dollars worth. Like not just like throwing a stupid number, like not exaggerating. I'm looking around my office right now, and a lot of my very expensive things I didn't buy.
Right. And
it was sent in because people liked the content I made.
And regardless of, and maybe people will be like, well, yeah, Jake, you've got like 65,000 followers on Instagram. I have done this same exact thing. Not even on my TikTok, which is almost useless for following count anyway, but I did this on my personal page, which is like 2,000 followers. And I just filmed myself like taking some creatine, I've taken some like electrolyte powder and posted it on my story, tagged the company, and they started sending me electrolytes and creatines and protein powder. And I'm just like, is it really that easy? Is it really that easy? And maybe it is. And from there,
no, it is.
They didn't even pay me. And like, but from there, you've made videos for them, and you can now use those videos to leverage to other clients and say, hey, look, I've shot this for this company, which you have, you're not lying. No. And then all of a sudden you're hired. Like you get your own portfolio. It's crazy.
Right. And that to me, and people sleep on this, but the portfolio is such a huge payment. And then it's your job, crucial job, to graduate out of that free to fee zone. That's where you have to start becoming a business owner. Once you have an established portfolio, then you have to use that to market yourself for paying gigs. But it is, I will submit, it is that easy. It is creating and proving that you can create and sell a product and then show it to a brand and say, look what I can do. And they can say, wow, do that for us. And it works. Even just a month ago, Nate, we started our YouTube channel officially, not this channel, but our other channel, where we posted a job shadow. and posted reviewing our LUT pack. Yep. And since then, I think we've had 10 emails come in from newer,
crazy
bunch of other brands,
like card readers.
Who's the lighting company? Anyway, sending us card readers wanting to send us products to review, right? Some paid collaborations, some just gear reviews, some just saying exchange. But it's like, boom, now all of a sudden we've just through a few videos that showed that we can actually review things and do that well. Companies want us to touch their products.
It's crazy.
But it's on you, whether that's through education, courses, but ideally just practice, fail, repeat, practice to become a good videographer where people see what you can do and say, do it for me. Yeah.
It's crazy. I mean, it's just putting in the work. It's putting in the hours. But if you're filming things that you already enjoy doing, whether it's, cooking a brisket.
Much easier. Yeah.
It's that much easier, and you actually enjoy doing it, and you actually do your best work because I can probably speak for a lot of people is editing can be a nightmare unless you're editing something that you personally love. Like we have a friend we talk about all the time, Samuel Hansen. He will not edit a wedding video with a gun to his head. But the second you take him out to the range and you film him shooting guns, and he will not let anyone else edit that. Don't even touch it.
He loves it.
Because he loves it. Because you're doing something you love and you want to make it look as good. And so you do your best work when you film something you already enjoy doing. And if you do that, you give it to a client, they're going to be impressed. They give you stuff, you start doing that. It's a snowball effect, and you just got to learn to leverage that with other clients as well. And it's just a snowball from there. Kind of reminds me of the quote. Well, I don't know if it's a quote, but someone said it's easier to keep your room clean than to get your room clean, or it's easier to stay in shape than to get in shape. It's like once you have clients, it's easier to keep clients and keep reaching out and finding them, as opposed to just being satisfied and then letting it go cold turkey and be like, crap, I gotta find people again because I'm running low on cash.
Yeah, but and that's the problem I think a lot of people are seeing is I get so, you just can't sit around and wait for it to happen. Yeah. Going back to our very first thing we talked about today, it's just like you have to be out there actively making content, and you can't just hope that, okay, one email without a portfolio, without adding any value, this client's going to want to give me some money. And the rare chance that anybody takes a chance on you with zero qualifications, the chances that happen are just 0.0001, right? Right. You need to at least have, in my opinion, a portfolio, which we've just established is easier to do. I think we overcomplicate that. And two, a personalized, way to add value to their business more than just pitching your services. And like we said, there's two ways to approach it, right? Let's take the golf example for example. You could take that video you filmed of yourself and say, hey, here's what I can do. Let me know if you would like any video content, right? That's approach number one, which I feel like I hear all the time, makes me cringe. And then approach number two is, hey, I've noticed that you have no content on your page, on your Instagram. I would love to come to your course, film maybe some of your carts and your golfers and your clubs, and your merchandise on the course being used so we can help you sell more, products or whatever. I'm just spitballing here. One approach is all about you, and the other approach is all about them. It's the same pitch, though, right? You're trying to get the same thing, which is them to hire you to create content. But one helps the client know that why you're doing it is to help them make more money and be a good investment, rather than like, hey, just give me a chance and make you some videos and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I love it. There's just that slight change in the verbiage, right? Just saying, I noticed you didn't have content. Let me help you out. Instead of, hey, will you hire me to get content for you? Yeah. That can make the biggest difference.
Every time.
So, we're gonna keep this podcast under an hour. These are gonna be a little bite-sized podcasts for your commute, and you should be able to get through this in just one single day. And guys, we talk about it all the time, but we have our separate YouTube channel, Runaway Vows, that we're starting to post to a lot more frequently. We have our newsletter that has just taken off as well, called the Runaway Club. We're going to leave links down below and all these things. And if you ever have any questions about it, please just send us an email. You can send it to contact@runawayvows.com. Whether you loved this episode or hated it, whether you just have questions, please just get in contact with us. We do offer coaching calls in our coaching program, the Champagne Club, which is currently underway. And I guess we don't know if we're going to launch another one next quarter, but possibly.
Yeah, we'll
so
also, you guys, we would like to definitely make this podcast more valuable. So the Written by You series, we know you guys love it. But for those of you who've listened to the very end of our podcast, I know it's a select few of you, you let us know, do you want to hear a lot more? Because what we're kind of leading towards is doing a lot more educational and value-adding podcast. We want to interview people in the industry that we feel like need more limelight, or spotlight, and then making the Written by You series kind of a splash of fun every now and then. Let us know in the comments if you're okay with that, if you like that format, because that's kind of what we're crawling towards here.
Yeah, just want it to be educational, but still, a good place to hang out and have some witty banter.
Yeah, so I want to have more conversations with people that I look up to.
Yeah, talk to the people who've done things that we haven't.
People, on the podcast and break them with
break
stories.
them out of their brand. Yeah, that's always going to be something that we're trying to do. But as you said, we're trying to make this a little more educational, and it won't always be about wedding videography. It'll be just kind of about just the creative journey as a whole, which I think is pretty valuable as itself. So
cooking as an entrepreneur in the kitchen.
Cooking as an entrepreneur, the kitchen for the creatives. But if you guys have any questions, anything that you need to contact us about, please feel free to reach out or leave a comment below, and we'll see you in the next one.